welcome to Little Apple Learning. So we're now well and truly back into the swing of things for term 3 in Australia, and I know in America and in the UK people are starting to sadly finish up their summer holidays and gear into school mode again. So I thought today I would focus on discussing the different literacy activities that I do in my classroom, particularly for reading. Now, I know that everyone has different ways of doing this. I prefer to use literacy centres rather than whole class because I feel like by focusing with literacy centres I can really target different kids' needs and think about the skills that they really need to work on to improve their reading, and it might play into their writing as well. So today I'm going to show you some products that I've really been loving using in my classroom and also give you some different ideas about the type of activities that I use that don't require any preparation as well. There's quite a few activities that I use in my classroom to teach reading that require really little to no preparation, and they're great ones just to have handy in case the activity you initially planned sort of falls apart, or you just need to think of an activity on the go. So some of those are, or some of my favourite ones are iPad reading. So if you've got, doesn't have to have one-to-one iPads, but if you've got a bank of iPads available in your classroom, or if you didn't have iPads, you could even use an iPhone or any kind of recording device. I get the children to buddy up and one child reads to the other, and the child who's listening tries to really give constructive feedback. So I often do 2 stars and a wish, and the kids can give a bit of feedback about how the reading aloud went. And then the children have the opportunity to watch their reading back, which I think they find really valuable because they get to see any mistakes they make. They get to listen to their intonation and fluency when they're reading and can take on board the feedback that they're getting as well. Something else that I often do is the use of puppet play. So that can be used in lots of different ways. A really simple way is just to get the children to come up with a narrative and perform that. So knowing that a narrative has to have a beginning, middle and end, and they can perform that in front of the class at the end of the session. And it allows them to focus on their oral language as well as looking at the different structure of genres like narratives. I also like to use magnetic letters a lot, which I'm sure everyone's very familiar with if you're a teacher, and get children to focus on their high frequency words that way. They can also use pegs to, if you write the letters on each word, to spell out the word, or stamps. So there's lots of different ways you can focus on high frequency words, and they're really easy to prepare, and once you've got them you can just keep them handy and have that bank there ready to grab whenever you need to. So when I'm planning my literacy activities, I try to have tasks that are at different levels, because I've got children in my classroom who are working still at a letter sound level, then I've got students who are working at a word level, sentence level, and just, you have that broad range, and often they cross over, and you might also have a whole class focus, especially if you're working on a particular theme or a style or a particular author. So the activities that I've got to show today are all resources from Twinkle, and I think I've been using Twinkle probably for a couple of years now, certainly since I first found out about it. The thing that I like about it, as opposed to more other websites, is that the way that the resources are sort of presented I find really attractive. So I really like the font that they use, and they use lots of bright colours and sort of pastel-y colours that look really nice in my classroom. So that's sort of one of the reasons I love them. But there's also a lot of activities that you can get from their site for free, pretty much in every area. And then if you feel like you need some more activities, or there's things in particular that you're looking for, you can sign up to be a paid member, and the membership goes, I think, for a year. You can sign up, I think, as a school or as an individual, and that gives you access to even more resources. So there's a lot on there. If you haven't had a look on their site, go and check it out, because there's a lot available and they all really look nice, which I love. When students are working at a word level, they might be thinking about syllables or segmenting words, they'd be moving on from initial sounds and individual phonemic awareness to build and gain a better understanding of onset and rhyme and those types of areas. So this is an activity that I'm currently using in my classroom, and it's about contractions. So it's just a game, and because it's presented in a game format, it's got a lot of variety. There's a lot you can do with it. In this case, the students have to match up the two separate words with the contraction, and I've found that it's been really valuable in letting kids just gain a better understanding of what a contraction is, because I think some of them struggle with the concept and get very mixed up with what words are contractions and which aren't. So this helps them gain familiarity, and I think has been very useful. Another activity that I've been using and the kids just love, like they've become a bit addicted to it actually, is this activity, and it's a compound word activity. So there's all different pictures, so, which is great because it means that kids at a lower level who aren't so ready for reading can also use it, and they have to match up the pictures with the two words that make out a compound word. And the way that we played in my class is a bit sort of like dominoes, so like you can set it up on the floor or at a table, and if you've got children who are a little bit more advanced, you might get them then to write down the words that or you want to just fill in a bit more time with them, write down the words that they've made as well to gain a better understanding. For those students who are starting to operate on tasks that are at a more complex word level, I often get them to do activities with nouns, verbs, adjectives, sorting activities and that type of thing. And this is one that I've found really useful. It's a verb sorting activity, and it's just a cut and paste. So you could probably alter it in different ways, and you could probably turn it into a bit of a game if you wanted by, doing a match-up type of thing. But I've just been getting children to start off by using this and sort verbs from nouns and so on, and then they can go on with a text that they're reading, looking through the text and trying to identify the verbs and listing those also. So there's a lot of freedom. You can start off with a basic activity and then lead it on through your reading or whatever your focus book is that you're working on in your teacher group. I've been finding recently that students' oral language has really been impacting their reading skills. And I've talked to other teachers about this, and we've got a few different, I've heard a few different theories on why people think the level of oral language is going down. It's an area that I just find really interesting. But anyway, nevertheless, it's something we have to focus on in our classrooms. So one way that I do this is through comprehension. So by focusing on a particular theme and building up a child's understanding about a concept or a topic, they can then obviously be able to answer questions about that topic. So at the moment, the Olympics are coming up, and I've found some really great Olympic resources. I've got a medal tally in my room, which I'll put on my Instagram. Even though the Olympics haven't started yet, we're just getting ready early. So this is a comprehension sheet that's about the Olympics. And the thing that I loved about it was that it was differentiated. So it actually came with 3 different texts with different sets of questions. So you could use the same text with your whole class and just consider where they're at and give them the different levels. And it really gets them to read between the lines, think about the vocabulary they know that has to do with that topic to answer the questions. Another way that I focus on oral language is by playing games where students have to answer questions. So this is a board game. Oh, I'm upside down. This is just a who, what, where, when board game. And my class is currently focusing on narratives. So I'm trying to draw the writing and the reading together to enhance their understanding. So for this task, and I'm trying to move it without it being too shiny, the kids have to answer particular questions like, what do you eat for breakfast? Or when do you go to sleep? And just that's a really simple way that children can have a go at expanding their oral language and making sure that the responses that they're giving are more complex and not just simple sentences, or not just using words like something or that thing, or because I'm finding that that's something that I see in my class a lot. Children will just replace a particular noun with another word because they don't really know the word or they can't think of it. So this is a good way of expanding their bank and just getting them to gain confidence when answering questions. For those children who are a little bit more advanced with their oral language, this sheet I think is actually more of a writing focus, but I've been using it for reading and oral language. So it focuses on what are the types of things you need to include in a narrative. And I've been getting children to make up their own narrative orally and have this sheet in front of them. So it's got things like, you need to remember to consider the audience, you need to build the excitement, you need to use descriptive language and show the character's feelings. So by playing this as an oral language game, students make up a story and can then look at this as like a checklist of, am I including all the things I really need to make my story convincing? And then they can perform that at the end of the lesson to the class, which they love. And sometimes I film them and put them up on the blog, which means the parents can watch them at home as well. So that's something that I find very useful. For younger students, I also use sequencing cards. So, upside down once again. So these are just cards that tell a little story, but they have no words written on them. And I find that they're also very valuable for students who might have particular needs that mean that they find expressing themselves really hard. So if they've got expressive language issues, the children need to point to each card and explain what's happening. So they need to name what's happening on the card rather than just saying the thing is in the air. They need to use the words like the plane is flying into the air. And if you can keep probing them and questioning them on that, you'll find that they just really start to improve when they get the hang of how this game kind of works. So they need to also make sure they've got the sequence correct, which transfers over to their writing in making sure they're able to sequence their ideas in a logical order. I hope this video has been useful in some way in helping you with your literacy activities, particularly if you're a bit stuck or if you're new to teaching and you're not quite sure where to start, or if you're starting at a new school and they do things differently, this might give you a starting point. If you've got any questions, please just leave them in the comments below. I'd love to be able to help you out by answering questions. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, or leave a thumbs up. I'm really appreciating all the contact I'm getting through YouTube and also on Instagram. So my Instagram is Little Apple Learning, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you again soon. Have a great week. See you guys.